cannot do, and what are those public policies that need to be discussed to make sure that this growth is equitably distributed. We need to also understand the nature of growth process, how it is shared, how it affects the people, what are the sectoral composition of this growth, which sector is growing at what rate, and who are benefiting from the sector, and what is the employment that is coming out of this growth, that is called employment intensity of the growth. And finally, we need to keep asking this question: what is the public policy in terms of the resource allocation for basic education and health? Is it matching with the need? As a country, are we really focusing on this health and education? When all of us know a country which is proud of knowledge is a country which has had wisdom, how come in basic education and health we are not comparable to even most backward countries? What is this paradox? Why in matter like education, which is very important for any society to really move forward, we are not doing well? We need to raise these questions. We also need to be sensitive about a contradiction. Contradiction, on one side, very significant growth, increase in the per capita income, good GDP, but on the other side, India continues to be one of the poorest countries in the world. This is a contradiction that we should not really ignore, talking about it and then discussing this. We should also develop a clear mind frame. We must find answers to these questions. Nobody else will find answers to these questions. As future administrators, next 30, 40 years you have, next 30 years, three decades or more, you have tremendous opportunity to make a difference to the situation. But that will not happen unless you understand why it has happened so far like that. That is where you should be able to intervene. The first and foremost reason, I believe, I am sure many of you would believe, is the pervasive imbalance of political and economic power. I think let us call spade a spade. Let us accept that as a country we still inherit the imbalances in terms of class, caste, gender. We may be proud of many things, but the imbalances in the political and economic power, particularly class, caste, gender, continue. And these are the imbalances that are contributing to the kind of contradiction that I was talking about. And these are the imbalances. As officers tomorrow, you should try to make use of every opportunity to bridge, address these imbalances, failing which history will not forgive us. We should also be conscious of this fact that we continue to make low investment on education and health. Sometimes we wonder why, despite so much of a demand for stepping up the allocations in the education, certain percentage of GDP should go for education and health. The activists call 9 is mine. That means education and health should receive 9% of the GDP. That is not happening. Disregard for agriculture and rural development. Agriculture, investments in the agriculture, investments in the rural development is not happening. At the same time, we also should be conscious of the decisions of all of us and the political executive, which is resulting in very significant plunder of the natural resources for the privileged. I think if you assess each such plunder that has happened unabated, you would, I'm sure, come to the conclusion that they have benefited only a few privileged. They have benefited the private gain, not so much the public gain. And also massive growth of corporate power. I think if we do not develop analytical understanding of what is this corporate power, how it can change our own thinking, how it can mesmerize all of us, how it can work so relentlessly in a manner to perpetuate the inequalities and concentration of wealth, unless we are aware of these things, we will not be able to address the issues. It is at this juncture I just would like to bring to your notice that country called Brazil, just like India in 80s, 90s, has registered tremendous growth. But that growth was going hand in hand with massive deprivation. There are a lot of inequalities, social unrest, education sector was bad, health was bad, concentration of health happened in the hands of a few. That was the case in late 80s. But last 2 decades, the country has realized that this is not the path that we have to follow. So they have invested heavily on active and social policies, constitutional guarantee of free and universal health care, and they have come up with bold programs of social security and economic redistribution. Consequently, today, in a matter of 2 decades, after realizing that this is not the path we have to follow, Brazil has turned around. Today the infant mortality rate of Brazil is 9 when compared to 48 per thousand of India. 99% of female are literate in the age group of 15 to 35, whereas that number is around 70 in India. Only 2% of the children who are below 5 years age in Brazil are undernourished, underweight, whereas in India 44% of the children below 5-year age are underweight. So the question is why we can't follow the Brazilian model in the sense recognizing that we need to invest on the social sector policies, we need to invest more on the health and education, deliver these programs, not only investing, deliver these programs, and we need to also think boldly about the social security and economic redistribution. And we have not done it last 2 decades, and the result is India, which was once a leader in all the social indicators in the year 1991, has declining gradually last 2 decades. And when you look at these social indicators across the South Asian countries, India's performance is abysmally low. From a status of a leader in the social indicators in the 1990s, we have come to a stage where we are one of the worst in these countries, corresponding to the same period where growth has made all of us proud. But this side of the story certainly has not made all of us proud. It should really make all of us feel ashamed. Look at this. The life expectancy at birth, India lowest. Countries like Bangladesh are better off, Nepal better off, Pakistan, Sri Lanka anyway. Infant mortality rate, except Pakistan, all other countries are doing better than India. Infant mortality rate. Under 5 mortality rate, again except Pakistan, all other small countries who are not as strong economically as our country are doing better. Maternal mortality rate, our performance is definitely better than many countries, but still very long way to go to compare ourselves with other countries which are of same economic base. If you look at the percentage of the households having access to improved sanitation, our country is the last in the South Asian countries. DPT infant immunization percentage, also India is the last. Similarly, infant immunization, measles, the coverage, Indian performance is the lowest. Mean years of schooling, we are not comparable to Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Only we need to, only Nepal is not doing as well as India. Female literacy rate also. Children underweight, this is one indicator we should make all of us lose our sleep. This is what I was saying. When compared to the year 1990, our rank one means top rank and bottom means 6th rank. Our ranks were better in the year 1990, but when we have come to 2009, the ranks have started falling in almost all the parameters. So this is a growth story. While we all should welcome the growth, while we all should take stand that India has to grow at this rate and maintain this growth rate, all of us collectively need to take this stand that growth alone is not going to address these social inequalities. Human resource indicators will continue to be abysmally low unless we need to bring in that kind of policies and budgetary investments